Welcome back to Horses, Hope, and Hustle, the podcast and community built on faith, fueled by grit, and made up of genuine horse people. I'm your host, Crystal Show, wife, horsewoman, entrepreneur, and believer that God doesn't waste the hard stuff. Around here, we talk real stories, big dreams, and the kind of hustle that's rooted in hope. So pour that coffee, pull your hat down, and let's ride. I think one of the coolest things about horses is that they can take us down paths that we never expected. Today's guest, Manda McCarthy, has done just that. She grew up in a non-horse home and she has been riding Warmbloods. She rode racehorses in Australia and is now back to Colorado training cow horses and cutters. What stood out to me the most about this conversation wasn't all the different disciplines that she'd partaken in, but her willingness to keep learning, work hard, and never stop becoming a better horsewoman for the horses in front of her. If you've ever wondered where hard work and staying teachable can lead, I think you're going to love this conversation. Here's Manda McCarthy.
Perfect. All right. Well, welcome back, listeners. Today, I'm very excited to have with us Manda McCarthy. Her story is very unique, very inspiring, and I am so excited that you were able to take the time in your very busy schedule to share with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Well, let's kind of just start at the beginning of how you got into the horses and where you are now.
I guess when I was 2 years old, we went to the National Horse Stock Show, and I decided then. I told my parents that I wanted to do it. And I remember when I was 8, I was a dancer. I was doing dance, and my parents took me to a barn on the way home from a dance class, and were like, "Well, do you want to do this?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And then I danced for a while, but I just was a barn rat after that. Like, they couldn't keep me away from the barn. And I was there taking lessons as often as I could. And then I was catch riding anything I could ride, and I was cleaning tack and grooming horses for $0. And I couldn't stay away from the barn. So that's kind of how it all started.
That's awesome. So full circle, now you are training cow horses, showing the cow horse, starting from cutting.
Yeah. That sort of evolved on its own. Like, I was riding jumpers. I saw down the fence. I didn't even know what NRCHA was, but that was kind of like, I'd seen videos of people going down the fence, but I had no idea where they were doing it or how they were doing it or in what association. And I kind of figured out that some of it was in versatility, but then the versatility people were roping, and I didn't know how you got to just go down the fence without having to rope. And then I saw the movie and then learned what NRCHA was. And I just signed up for the Snaffle bit because I did not know that that's not what you do. That was like the only show I knew about. So I signed up for the Snaffle bit. I still remember like putting my entry in the mailbox and being like, here we go. And yeah, I got there, and my horse was really good. And it was my first cow horse ever, and she was awesome. And everybody was like, "Who are you?" I was like, "I have no idea. I just started doing this like 2 weeks ago." So
this is my first show.
Yeah, and then I just started, like, I don't know, for a long time. At first when you start getting cow horses, you are just excited for a big name on the papers, and then you're excited for like a grandson or granddaughter, and then you just kind of keep working your way up. And so I started trying to get nicer horses because it was really tough and I wanted to do it. And so I started kind of trying to buy horses that I thought could do it, and then I would train them up, and sometimes I'd train them as far as I could, and then I'd sell them if they weren't cow horses, or once they were valuable to somebody else, then I'd sell them and I'd buy something a little bit nicer and I'd start again. And then I started winning enough and talking to the right people, and people started sending me horses. And at first I was like, I feel like I barely know what I'm doing. So I had a lot of like imposter syndrome because I felt terrible. Like I was just so nervous training horses for people for a cow horse. Like I'd trained other horses for people for a long time, but I was like, just so you know, like I'm a learner. And I still feel that way, but it really has not been that long. But um, you know, the right people behind you that believe in you and you work really hard. And yeah, kind of like we had mentioned, like I think that um just hard work will put you in rooms that you didn't think you could get in. So
Mhm. Mhm. And like we mentioned before we started recording, the biggest thing in this industry is just meeting the right people. I mean, that will put you so far ahead in the game, just making the right connections and knowing people and getting your foot in the door
yeah.
that way too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. Finding the right people to surround yourself with and that believe in you and give you
Mhm.
opportunities. It's huge.
Yeah. What year did you go to the snaffle bit? And for our non-cow horse listeners, the snaffle bit is like the premier show of the NRCAJ.
Like
It
the
is
Super Bowl.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is like the top show of the year. So that's
Yep.
hilarious. I love that that was your first one.
Yep, that was number one. So, that was so I did that in 2019, and then COVID hit, and Colorado, like Colorado and California were like the ones that strict like tightened down, and so everything quit after that.
Mhm.
So I just did that, and then I couldn't do anything until the end of 2021. So it's been like almost 5 years that I've really been doing cow horse stuff. So yeah, I had my shooting star moment in 2019 at the Snaffle bit where it just was like came and went. And then yeah, I really kind of started showing in the fall of 2021. So
Very cool. So did you have the facility and what was it like training your first horse for the snaffle bit for that first show?
well, I no, I didn't have cows. I trained her without cows, which so my buddy Devin so the reason that I got her to begin with was because in college I was buying like horses that had decent papers. Well, at the time I like they had a good name or two on the papers, but they were unhandled, so I'd buy them off of Craigslist for like $700, and then I'd brush them and I'd feed them and I'd train them as best I could, but I couldn't afford to show, nor did I really know where to go to show. And so then I'd sell them to a lot of kids on like the versatility team at CSU and stuff. And I didn't own a Western saddle. Like I borrowed a Western saddle and I just was working these horses. I just was trying to get them broke.
Uh-huh.
Um, and so then from there, like that's how I paid for school. And so my buddy called me and he's like, "Hey, I've got a 2-year-old in my barn. Owners need to sell it. And I think you could probably buy it and sell it and make a lot of money off of it." And he's a cutting trainer. And so she had been on cows as a 2-year-old before I bought her. And then I bought her as a 2-year-old. And then she wasn't on cows until I went to the snaffle bit. And so I had a boyfriend at the time, and we're still good friends, but he was riding this other horse that we have called Tiny, and I would just like chase him around, and he was my cow, and that's my trainer to go down the fence. Was that I would just like take him down the fence and circle him in the arena, and that's like still to this day, like that mare's a really good, like a really good fence horse, and that's all I ever did was just like take Keel down the fence on Tiny. So no, I do have an indoor arena because I need one where I live. But yeah, I was riding jumpers at the time, and you can still see like the jump set in the back of all of my pictures and stuff from those years, like when I was going. And so yeah, I I didn't really have exactly what I needed, but she marked a 19 and a half down the fence. So
Holy
a little bit, yeah. Well, and that was so deceiving because then I was like, oh, this is going to be great. This is going to be so much fun. And this is so easy. And now I realize that was just like a truly exceptional horse, truly exceptional.
that
So,
is awesome. So tell us more
unorthodox.
about that first show. What else happened during that show?
So I think the biggest thing was like I just started meeting people. Like everybody was so nice. Also, I hot quit in the cutting. I didn't even know the rules. Um, I
Which
hot
that's
quit
an
in the
easy
cutting,
mistake.
and afterwards I texted, and I thought that a hot quit was a 0 at the time, and so I texted Devin afterwards, and I was like, "Yeah, things got fast, and I think I hot quit, but I guess I didn't." He goes, "No, you definitely did," and and then I learned that it was a 3-point penalty per judge, and so it did hit my score pretty hard, but yeah, I mean, that mare, she was just so good. Like she was such a good horse. Like she was a huge stopper. I also remembered, and this is horrifying to even say out loud, especially like cow horses and cutters, but I remember very distinctly, like I went in for my reining pattern. She was awesome. She did have like a too big of a fast to slow transition and broke gate. So I got those penalties. I think she was still a 12.5 with those penalties. And like a break a gate and falling out of lead or something on that fast to slow. But I remember I went down for my third stop, and when I went to back up, I was like, "Oh, I haven't backed this horse up like I don't know if ever." And and thankfully she backed up, but I was like, "Wow!" And now that's insane to even think about because all we do is back up. But yeah, so that was kind of a memorable thing. And then I came out of the reining, and yeah, that's when Morgan at the gate was like, "So who are you and where did you come from?" I just assumed that it was such a big industry that nobody would recognize that I was new. And like, I didn't know anybody. So I just went out there and rode my horse, and I loved my horse. And you could definitely see in the videos that my friends took of me, like schooling the reining before, everybody's just like, "Who is this chick?" So, but yeah, everybody was super duper nice. And that was the biggest thing that I kind of took home is that I was like, I feel like everybody here wants me to do well.
Mm.
And maybe that's tunnel vision. I don't know. But yeah, that was my biggest takeaway. And that's why I ended up staying in the cow horse is because I was just like, these people are so nice.
Yeah.
So
I love what you said. Maybe it's tunnel vision, but I do think that our experience is what we focus on. If you were just so focused on all of the people being nice, then that is what, that's your perspective. And I think that that's awesome because I think sometimes we do get too focused on one person said one not nice thing
yeah.
and, ah.
I mean, it's truly science that like your reality is what you decide it is going to be. And then the whole universe like moves itself to give you what you believe. So,
Yep.
For better or worse, it is truly science.
Yep. I had a mindset coach on, and his question was, is the world a friendly place or a hostile place? And I was like, oh, like that just puts everything into perspective. So, yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, we're going to go back and then we'll come back to the cow horse. I want to hear about the jumpers because I don't know that much about the jumper world. How did you get in from where you started as a kid? Did you grow up riding English then?
So I very first started English, but it was more like English showing. And then I, did 4-H and stuff. But then I actually started in the jumpers because I had to do a physics project in high school. And I was like, oh, I've got a cool idea. I want to like do the physics and like the trajectory of horses jumping. And I was like, well, better go pull my quarter horse out and start jumping barrels. And so and it was honestly kind of the same thing about like my mare that I took to the snaffle bit that was just like an exceptional horse. Like he was just this Poco Bueno, like black quarter horse that I just did 4-H and everything with. And then I started jumping him like 3'6" on the first day. And for this physics project. And again, looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, people like actually train those horses to get to that height for a while, not day one. And I just like put it up and at first I set the barrels on their sides and put it across, and then he was really good. And then I set him up and just put the pole across the top, and he just like kept going. Um, and yeah, so it's kind of the same thing. I was like, wow, this is super fun. And then my vet was like, hey, if you're going to be jumping like this, you should probably get like a Warmblood that's actually built to jump like this. And so yeah, I started, I couldn't afford like the trained Warmbloods. So I got a young one and got her started. And and then, yeah, I just kind of started riding the Warmbloods and, kind of did, show jumping and eventing. I wasn't really into dressage that much when I was younger. I like it a lot more now. And so, yeah, I really enjoyed it. I liked riding the Warmbloods. Some of them are pretty quirky, which is no different than the cow horses. And I liked it a lot. I did it through college and, yeah, really until I went to the snaffle pit.
Wow.
Started my cow horse stuff. So
That is awesome. Are there a lot of shows in Colorado for the jumping stuff?
So there is there's a pretty big circuit every summer that's in like the Parker area. Obviously your coasts are going to be bigger for anything English sport horse, and Florida and stuff like that. But there I ride several Warmbloods still actually. And I start a lot of Warmbloods for people. So I would say, like, again, kind of going back to the tunnel vision of it, like I ride for specific people and I ride everything that they have. And so I just keep those clients and, bring it year after year on their young horses. So I personally am busy with the Warmbloods still, but I've been removed from like the showing circuit for so long. So yeah, I don't know
how much of what you learned or how you trained the Warmbloods transferred over to your cow horses?
So there are a couple of things that cross over and a couple of things that are completely different. So that were a little bit tough for me to, and I'm sure I still am like subconsciously working on. I think the biggest difference is that the Warmbloods, we want them to reach for contact, and the cow horses and the cutters, like we want them backed off of contact. So, and when you're working at like a professional level on it, it has to be a subconscious like give back. And so I think that one of the biggest things that I do on all of them is that the dressage horses, like we want them stretched and reaching into contact and stuff like that. And so, and again, everything that I say now is based on what I know right now. And I know that it could change down the road. But when my cow horses are loping around for the reining, it's helped me a lot because I start out by getting them comfortable stretching and kind of reaching into that. But then I just add that button where I can pick them up and back them off of the contact. And so it's helped me a lot in the reining because I'm not strong enough to, nor do I have the desire to like kind of handle those horses to get them down and override them wanting to be up higher. And so if I can just teach them that stretching is a good place to be, it makes them lope around like reiners because they want to reach their head down, and I can just throw away and put them on a drape rein without having to. Then I just need to make sure that I can pick them back up onto their hip to get them across a cow. But I think that's the biggest thing that's like, on one hand, it's complete opposite. On the other hand, it's actually helped for both. So
yeah. Very cool. So somewhere in there, you ended up in Australia riding race horses, correct?
Yes.
Let's hear about that. That's wild.
So when I first went to college, I felt like it wasn't really there for me. And looking back now as an adult, I'm sure a lot of it was like undiagnosed ADHD, but I I felt like I had kind of cracked the code and in school, and I didn't really care about learning the material. I just kind of cared about getting the grades. Um and I yeah, I just couldn't, I don't know, I always wanted to be outside. I couldn't really sit still for very long. And um my mind like moves really quickly through things. And so I went to college, and I went to college for in the pre-vet pre-med program and like the biomedical science side of things. And um my chemistry class was on the other side of campus from the bus. And if I left early, I could make the earlier bus, and it was my last class of the day. And so I was leaving early every day. And the other thing that was tough for me about chemistry is like I'm so tactile, and you can't see anything with chemistry. And so my brain just was like, this doesn't exist. And um, so yeah, I wasn't very applied. Like I think like the night before classes started, I dropped out of the pre-vet thing and like took scuba diving, which was a huge mistake. And just was not into it at all. And then got a C in chemistry, which was my first. I don't think I'd ever even had a B up until that point. Um and just wasn't into it. And so after that year, I was just like, I got to figure something else out. And so I went to Australia. It was a year that the Summer Olympics were going on. And so I found this website that was sort of like LinkedIn for equine professionals. And I just sent resumes to a bunch of different countries and got a bunch of different job offers. And some of them probably would there some of them were more structured kind of for what I was doing. Like it was like going and being, an assistant for show jumping trainers that were going to the Olympics and stuff like that. Like it probably would have been a more like straight line path, but I was like, here we go, Australia, I'm gonna go ride racehorses. And so I went and I just like went. I'd never even been on like a plane by myself. I'd never gone anywhere. I'd never out of the country or anything. And yeah, I just went to Australia. I started riding racehorses and made some connections. And I ended up living there like off and on from, so that was in 2011. I moved back here, like haven't been back since 2016. So I was over there for a fair while. And I did come back and I finished my degrees in school. But when I came back, I was actually like there for me. And then everything switched, right? Like I then was on the dean's list and I was studying the curves and stuff. And it just goes to show that you have to just pursue what you can apply yourself to, because if you're not doing it for you, like it's never going to be your effort,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So, what are the horses like in Australia? Are they comparable to the horses that we have here in the States?
Well, I was writing English over there, so I was doing I did a lot of like lessons for Pony Club and um then obviously the racehorses, but um I've never done anything with racing in the US. So I can't even, like, everyone when I came back was asking me if I like follow American racing, and I was like, not at all. Like the horses that I knew were in Australia. And I never, like, it never crossed, like I never did anything with the camp drafting or anything cow related with the horses in Australia. I was living on this island called King Island and in Melbourne, and then I lived in Tasmania for a little while. And so those were very racing heavy locations. And I never even went to the areas of Australia that were doing like the cam drafting and stuff like that. So yeah, to me, they were polar opposite, but it's because I was in completely different disciplines, like here versus there. So
Yeah.
it was a great experience though. Like the people were awesome, and King Island, like you can't beat. King Island is an awesome place to live. So
That is so cool. I love your story. It is just like lots of different directions.
Can you see the ADHD? Like, you can pick it out. It's almost like it's right in front of you. You just got to connect the dots. So,
Oh, I love it so much. That is so incredible. So, like the racing down there, was it a big track? What was that like there?
yeah, it was really cool. So, I was breaking and training the racehorses, and then I also like I learned pretty quickly that the worse they were, the more money I made. And so I was riding really bad ones. And um they at least like the racing down there, they get like strikes against them. And so if they have unruly behavior, they won't go in the barriers or anything like that. They start getting strikes, and once they get multiple strikes, they're banned from racing. And
Oh,
so
wow.
I would always say I was riding the 2 strike thoroughbreds, and I really found that the uh, the thing about the thoroughbreds is that they they just didn't get taught to go left and right? Like they get
Mhm.
on and they're taught to go this way, and um, I was having, I think, a lot of success because I was just getting them broke laterally, and so then it was kind of the same thing, like the ones that would want to rear and go into the barriers and stuff, you pick up a rein and they just go up. Well, if you can just break apart their hip and get them to follow their nose, you stay a lot safer. And um, so that was the biggest thing that I was doing on a lot of them, is just, yeah, getting them broke laterally, and being able to get that hip kicked out of the way and have their bodies follow their nose. And that still applies. Like that's when I start all my colts, like they know 2 things. They know how to disengage their hip when you bump their rib cage, and they know how to give to their nose. And that's pretty much it. So yeah, so I was doing a lot of starting them, and I thought, like, looking back, it's been 10 years now, but um I thought it was so fun starting those colts and teaching them to jump out of the barriers and getting to run. So when I was on King Island, we were on a turf track. It varied everywhere. Like when I was on Tasmania, it was a sand track. And but yeah, King Island was a turf track. It was a beautiful, beautiful place. Like King Island has the best beaches in the world, like in my opinion. And the surfers go there. And it was some of the best mornings of my life, like going and working those young horses on the track. And the people were super good, and yeah, I had a great time. It was beautiful, and I still have like all the photos saved on my phone and stuff like that. So it was really
That's
cool.
awesome. What age do they start racing those horses over there? Like, are they similar to like the Western where they start them when they're 2 and they race when they're 2 or
Hmm.
3? I don't know that much about racing.
Yeah, gosh, I can't remember if they run them at 2 or if they run them at 3. It's been that long now, but
5
yeah,
disciplines
it
ago.
is a similar timeline to what we do for the Western stuff. I do know that, like, we were starting them around the same, like coming 2-year-olds, and then you like build them up. And at least where when I was in Tasmania, it was kind of everything was on like a 6-week deal. And so they went to the breakers for 6 weeks, and then the pre-trainers for 6 weeks, then the trainers to get them ready to run for 6 weeks, and then they would call it a spell, like they would rest them for 6 weeks, and then they would go back to the pre-trainers and then the trainers, and then and so it was kind of all in 6-week increments. And then yeah, they'd get a rest, and then they'd go back and pre-train, train, race, rest.
Wow.
So that was sort of, and I don't know if it's like that everywhere. That's just what we did.
Yeah.
So
So the
yeah.
barns that you were at, you were the breaker, is that correct? The colt starter breaker,
Oh,
whatever you call them, race.
when I was in Tasmania, I was a breaker and a pre-trainer. And then I started going to the track and meeting like the actual exercise riders. And then I made those connections. And then when I moved to King Island, I did all of it. I was the breaker, the pre-trainer, and the trainer.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
That is cool. Is everybody located in the same barn then? Like, do you have the breaker, the pre-trainer, or do these horses move barns as they
No,
go through?
it's totally different facilities. It's kind of like in the cut and how you can have like 2-year-old guys and that's like all they do.
Mhm.
And then they'll send. But then occasionally you've got like the people that, start their own, ride their 2-year-olds and um, train them as well. I think it also just kind of depends on the size of the facility and stuff. Like when I was at the breakers and the pre-trainers, when I was working there, we had like 75 horses and that were just breakers and pre-trainers. And then
Wow.
um, when it got a little bit more niche, like when I moved to King Island, I actually was like working at the track and there were some stables that were like at the track, kind of like more like it is in the United States, I think, where you've got just a bunch of stables and different trainers in each of the stable, but you're all at the track.
Mhm.
It was kind of more like that on King Island, and then the ones that weren't at the track like truck the horses in. So
Hmm. That's interesting. So, okay, I'm trying to keep up with the story. So we were in Australia, then we come back to Colorado, and then you did the jumpers for a while. Is that right? Is that the right
yeah,
timeline?
yep. So the jumpers were kind of from what year did I graduate high school? I would say the jumpers were probably from like 2008 to 2016, plus there was some overlap, or 2019, plus there was some overlap. So probably, I don't know, 14 years of doing jumpers, and then um, like almost 5 years now of doing cow horse, and then like half a year of doing cutting.
Half a year. And before we started recording, we talked about the roping. So maybe in a year or two, you're gonna have roping under your belt as
I sure
well.
hope so. I sure hope so. I would love to go to the world's greatest, but I don't want to be like, I don't want to look like the person that just ropes because they're going to the world's greatest. Like I actually want to like do it and be good at it. And um I've been roping the dummy a lot and yeah, I've gotten invited to go rope with some friends and so I need to start doing that. And I just yeah, diversification and um yeah, I just think that you got to stay relevant and the roping has become such a good secondary market for these cow horses that to be able to and I think the other thing too is people it's like when people get frustrated and that they want to sell their horse for show horse prices but they haven't shown and their horse hasn't shown and I saw like the kindest response to somebody that was saying that and they're like well nobody that's buying your horse knows if it actually is going to show if it's never been shown like you have to
Mhm.
every horse can win when they're at home and they have 20 tries to get that stop but and so it's kind of the same thing with the roping like I feel like your credibility is improved so much more if you say this thing would go make a good rope horse if you know what that feels like and you can
Yeah.
prove that you know what that feels like. So, and then also you don't even know what you don't know. So once you start doing something new, you find like the holes in that horse that they actually need fixed before they can really go do that career. So that's the other reason that I want to get more in the roping too, is to just make sure I'm making these horses better for a secondary career if the cow horse isn't for them. So
Yeah. That's a huge thing is some of these horses don't want to be cow horses or don't want to be whatever. And if you can find where they fit and that they're
yeah,
happy, then one, you can still, make some money on them because at the end of the day, we all need to pay our bills.
yep,
You can make
yep.
money on them and just make someone else happy and give that horse the best life it can have too.
Yeah, absolutely. Not all horses can take the constant criticism of cow horse training. Like it is a lot of criticism. Like even when they do it right, do it better. And so I think that some of those horses, like, and I actually think that that's why some of them um, do better in the cutting too. Uh, And then, yeah, the rope horse, like, I think that the nice thing about roping is there's an answer, those horses like get to this spot and do this and I'll leave you alone kind of thing. Whereas in the cow horse, it's such a progression for their whole lives, really, up until they're a finished bridle horse, which some of them I don't think ever really get there. And you have to be able to really handle them, and they have to be able to come out every day and like that criticism. And so, like I've got a 3-year-old this year, and she did it all, and she did it pretty good, but getting her to lope around like a reiner is a fight every day, and she's happy as can be if you just let her lope like a rope horse. And and she runs hard and she stops and she rates a cow, but she just wants to lope like a rope horse. And I think just a lot happier doing that. So
I always joke with my stud, because I started him in the cow horse, showed him in the cow horse, and now my husband's healing on him, and he's a lazier stud, which is, it makes him just much more pleasant to be around and haul. I'm very convinced of that. But I always joke, I'm like, Tonto loves the roping because he goes out and works for like 10 seconds and then he gets a break. And like he's like learned that. And he does. He will work so hard. He will raid around the corner. He will drag his butt. And then he gets to walk to the back gate and he walk back to the box.
And said, he gets told that he's perfect and did his quick effort.
Yep. He's like, I tried hard for 10 seconds. Now I get 15-minute break.
Best boy. Yeah, absolutely. I do. I think that some of them, there is truly a career for every horse. And now there's so much crossover in the breeding between the cutters, the cow horses, and the rope horses. Like, I feel like, I think you do have your studs that are different, that, bring in different lines to things, but I just think there's so much crossover that it's such a strong market to be in. So.
Yep. I do agree. I just yesterday, gosh, I think it was on Facebook, I saw this whole post blow up, and this lady bred her dual ray mare, I believe, to Adios Pantalones. And she had like a whole article of why, like, combining these, and she wants to still go show it in the cow horse, but she wants a little more run. And, it was very, very interesting because, Adios Pantalones is, I don't remember how he's bred, but obviously like big time barrel horse. And I thought it was really neat that we're adding that diversity to our industry too, because even if this colt doesn't make a cow horse, I guarantee you it's going to go make either a barrel horse or a rope horse, or there's going to be a big time place for that colt later in its life. So I thought that was really
set up
cool.
With a good foundation. Yep. For sure.
Yep. Very awesome. So, okay, going back again. I feel like our conversation's kind of all over too, but that's okay.
That's how my life is. It works.
So, back to the cow horse. That's what your most relevant path is, I guess we could say. So you showed at Snaffle Bit. COVID happened. What were you doing during those COVID years to prepare to keep showing the cow horse?
So I bought a few horses. I bought a few horses to just kind of practice training. Like, I just figured I need to do this through repetition. I need to buy some horses so that I can just keep doing this. And so I bought a Don't Stop filly out of a metallic cat mare as a long yearling. And then I bought a 2-year-old Once Upon a Time gelding, and I bought a 3-year-old out of he was like led through at Billings for $1,000. And I bought another yearling that was by a son of Hollywood Dunnett out of a daughter of Shirley Pepto. And so those were kind of my like 4 horses that I worked on. And so, and I bought a highbrow cat son. So I bought some horses to kind of just do this on, and the Don't Stop Believin', I had a really tough time getting around at first. Nobody's going to be surprised to hear that. Um and then now I figured her out, and she's like the best horse. But yeah, and then I got the Don't Stop. I ended up showing, well, I tried to show at the Futurity the next year, but that was when I really realized that my horse the first time was just like really exceptional, and I really had no idea what I was doing. And so she wasn't ready. I had a heck of a time getting that mare to change leads for like a couple of years, and which is the other reason that I just kind of switched into the cutting, because she was a better cutter, and I was like, cool, we'll do this, we'll try.
Yeah.
But so she really didn't do anything until the Derby. And then my other one, this is actually really funny. So my other one, he's a fast horse. Like, he's a sensitive horse, and I had, like, the Warmbloods are not like sensitive and fractious like the cow horses are, and so I had no idea what I was doing. Anyways, I'll never forget, Luke Jones was I was riding that Once Upon a Time 3-year-old the Futurity, and I was just loping and loping, and I was like, he will not stop. And the next morning I was on him, and I was loping again, and Luke comes, he goes, "You're still loping that horse. Did you ever get off of it?" And I was like, he still won't stop. And so yeah, he was definitely a runner more than he was a stopper. And he ended up like, he's a really cool horse now. But so yeah, so I spent that time learning that I had no idea what I was doing, is what I really did. And then the year after that, I was finally ready to show my Don't Stop Believin', and I showed my Billings horse, and I showed my Hollywood Knows It horse. And those were the three horses that I showed. I showed the two Derby horses and the one Futurity horse. That was in 2022 is when I like really kind of started showing those guys. And I always, like, a couple of people have probably heard me say this, but yeah, the total sum that I paid for those three horses that I was showing was $6,250.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and they all, I don't know if that 3-year-old ever won anything before I sold him, but the other ones won plenty. And that was cool for me to see, because I feel like the general consensus is that you have to start with a ton of money to do this. And it turns out if you're just like this, and you just don't quit, eventually something will work out for your favor. So
That is awesome. So that was 4 horses for 6,200?
three.
Right.
The three that I was showing. Yeah, I paid more for the Once Upon a Time, but yeah, the Don't Stop was $3,250. The Billings horse was $1,000, and the other one was $2,000. So
Oh my gosh. That is so cool. Right now, gosh, that's what you'd pay for a weanling.
yeah, seriously. So yeah, it was just kind of cool. It was just something that I was like, I just bought up some horses to practice training, and they ended up kind of being show horses, and not that great of show horses, but they were pretty. Like that little black horse that I got from Billings he was feely. He was a Dacolina out of a Pepto Spoonful mare, and he was a feely, quirky dude, but he was pretty cowy, and he was pretty talented. So
That is so cool.
mm-hmm.
And I almost feel like being a little naive like that, like being like, this is what I can get, and like, going and doing the best that you can with those. And
Yeah.
obviously it worked great for you. That was a great way to get your foot in the door with what you had at the time. And they probably taught you so much.
Yeah, they did. And back in what was it, 2019, when I showed that mare the very first time at the Snaffle Bit, like I took her to Matt Cook's in January of that year, because he had gone viral on the Ronalina Oak fence work video from the Snaffle Bit. And then I looked him up and saw that he was close to me, and I was like, called him up, and I was like, I want some help. And he's like, I don't help people, but I'll tell you who will. And I was like, nope, I'm coming to get some help. And I loaded up the horses that I had, and I went and I marked stalls. And at the time, I had like a Shining Spark granddaughter that was fairly blown up, to be honest. And she came to me. She actually came through billings to somebody else. I bought her from somebody else, and she was like totally blown up when I bought her. And I was trying hard to make her cowers because she's all I had too at the time before I knew what NRCHA was. And I brought her out there, and she bolted down the middle, and he told me I looked like Hidalgo. And but Matt is so great. He's so awesome, and he's still like, we talk every time I see him and stuff. And yeah, I just like you said, I was naive. I had no idea. I'm sure I made plenty of an idiot and fool out of myself along the ways. And all I hope is that the people that saw me 5 years ago can forgive me for who I was, and the people who see me in 5 years can forgive me for who I am now and what I do and don't know. And I think there's so much to learn, like not just in the rules, but in the industry etiquette. And yeah, so yeah, you can't be afraid of looking dumb. That's for sure.
Yep. That is the cost of knowledge or getting anywhere. I love the tunnel. I love the tunnel vision just keeps coming up because it's so true. You just have to keep your eyes set on what your end goal is, because and you can't be afraid to look like a fool. It just is what it is. And the truth is, everybody else standing in that arena at those shows has been there, you know.
Yeah, and I think we go into like, for the longest time when I was learning, I was horrified that everything from NRCHA is like publicly broadcast online. And I was like, anywhere in the world, these people can watch me like learn and fail. And now I'm just like, you know what? Whatever. I'm out there. I'm doing it. I'm figuring it out. Like, and the people in the arena, they don't care. They're not there like to judge you or anything like that. And most of them aren't even paying attention to you. So, and the people that are at home watching, if they have anything bad to say, like, there's plenty of seats here. You can go ahead and do it yourself too. So
yes,
you just have to kind of let that go, because it was mortifying to me for a while that like I wished I could show under an alias, under a different name, and nobody could know who I was while I was out there learning. And I think you just gain so much confidence by putting yourself out there and letting yourself fail, even publicly. Like, you're just a human. You're doing the best you can. That's all.
And those people on the couch, those are the cheap seats. Those are the loudest
Really
ones,
cheap.
are the cheapest seats.
Yep, absolutely. So,
oh, that's so good. I love that. So, when you were coming up in the cow horse, what were some of the toughest challenges that you came across, being someone who just got started in it?
yeah, I think probably learning to read a cow.
That's a good one.
Yeah, like so a couple of people that rode after me kept saying, like, your horses are super broke. You just got to tie them harder to a cow. Like, you just got to get the timing. And I'm like, listen, I promise you, it's not the horse. Like, it is right here. So I'm the problem. I get that. I am still learning how to read a cow and be with a cow and stuff. And like, I didn't grow up cowboying. I didn't grow up in a family that knows how to do this. I didn't go work for anybody. Like, I'm still figuring out the cow thing. And Chris actually said something to me at Scottsdale just like in May, and he said, like, my horses have a lot of style coming across, but they need to get there and get back across themselves quicker. And he told me to work the cow with my saddle horn. And I don't know, I feel like so many people have said roughly the same thing to me so many times. And I guess I just had to hear it in that way on that day at that time with this much past experience for me to understand what he was talking about and like what he means. And now I am just laser focused on how to get the middle of my horse across that cow. And yeah, so I think the cow part of it, and the other thing is like people, thankfully, I hope and I think they are understanding that I would love unsolicited advice. Like, I think some people are hesitant of giving unsolicited advice and criticism, and I can take it. Like, you can't hurt my feelings. I just hang on anything that anybody's willing to tell me about, anything that I can be doing better. Um and so now that's helping me a lot. But yeah, so I think probably those couple of things is um becoming the person that people feel like they can walk up and say, like, hey, try this, hey, do that, like, hey, do this better, kind of thing. um and taking that, and then also like learning to read a cow, because I think when you grow up or when you start the industry, like working for somebody, people know that you're there to be told like what to do better and stuff, whereas somebody like me, I think there can be a little bit of a hesitation of people to just walk up and be like, you should do this better.
Yeah.
And actually, like, I want that knowledge, like I want to seek that knowledge and everything like that. So yeah, just gaining access to, making the networking, gaining the access to people that will tell you how to do better and what to do better and stuff. And then yeah, the cows, there's none of those in the jumpers. So
They didn't have those on the racetracks in Australia.
right. We had turkeys sometimes, and it was a really bad day when we did. So
Oh, I think sometimes like unsolicited advice, that's the guys that are at the top that are willing, or girls, anyone, not just saying guys, but the people that are at the top that are willing to come give you advice instead of being able to be like, wow, I really appreciate that, because that advice probably took them years and countless hours in the saddle to gain, and they were willing to walk up to you and just give that to you, even the smallest thing that could have made the biggest change in your program.
it's
That
huge.
I think comes back to another mindset perspective thing. Like, you could be like, wow, I'm very thankful that this person like took the time, or be like, that was rude, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It's like what we were talking about before, where uh whether yeah, is the world hostile or is it amazing? It's the
Mhm.
way that you see it. And it's kind of the same thing, like people that are like think people are bad and stuff, like I couldn't disagree more. I think people are the best part of this whole life. And we as adults, like, I think it's tough as kids, you can't pick the people that you're around, like your parents kind of pick it. And um you're based on like your school and stuff like that. But as an adult, like, we get to choose who we do this life with, and
Mhm.
you can find the best people, and it's a game changer for your life, that's for sure.
Yes. The whole iron sharpens iron and all the quotes that you
Mm,
hear. Like, I'm big quality over
absolutely.
quantity, and
Yep.
it is incredible how much your life can change depending on the people that are in your circle.
Yep, absolutely, couldn't agree more. Huge, huge.
Yeah. Yeah. So, what does your program look like now? Now, combination of the cow horse, the cutting, the warm bloods.
Yeah. So I started, this is actually my first year pulling embryos on my own. So I pulled some
Ooh.
embryos out of my three best show mares. And then I have a few mares that I bred to carry. And then I have probably half a dozen warmbloods that I am riding. And then the rest are cow horses. And then I've got one mare that I showed in the cow horse, my Don't Stop Believing, that I now just cut on. And I'm some of my client and non-pro horses that I cow horsed on. I've started cutting on them as well when we have, like, right now we kind of have a break in the cow horse shows. I didn't go to Douglas for the pre-futurity, so I didn't show anything cow horse from really Scottsdale until August, and I'm not going to the Hackmore Classic. And so uh yeah, we pulled the shoes on some of the cow horses and just been cutting on them. And yeah, I showed NCHA this weekend, and yeah, kind of just trying to decide like what everybody wants to do. Like ultimately I work for them. So if they want me to cut on their horses, like I'll cut on them. If they want me to cow horse on them, I'll cow horse on them. And yeah, I got some 2-year-olds coming up that we're pretty excited about. And I'd really like to go to the Cut and Futurity. Kenny Platt helps me a lot, and Kenny and Becca are great. And so I am gonna take some of my 2-year-olds out there and kind of see what he thinks about them. And we might start, probably not next year since I'm behind the game on that, but some of my yearlings that are coming up to get started, I think we might aim towards the Cut and Futurity and yeah, just really do it all, I guess.
There you go. And you're starting to do some clinics too?
Yeah, that's new for me. I started just getting asked to do some clinics and I'm really enjoying it actually. I feel like it takes me a while to recover from like I'm an introvert by nature, and so the clinics are very extroverted, and so it takes me a little bit to recharge my social battery, but I love meeting people and I love horses. And so it just was cool. Like it's cool to go do a weekend where we all have the same like extreme hobby because horse people are very unique people. And so getting to go spend my time doing things and it was a good challenge. Trying to make the most of being able to quickly pick out like each horse and each rider and figure out how to help them instead of just being like, all right, everybody bend to the left.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. I am going up and doing a clinic in Idaho in a month, and like actually a month from today. And it's like a beautiful area in Idaho. I'm really excited to go up there. So yeah, it's new for me and I'm liking it.
That's so cool. That's so neat. I love hearing your story. Just your hustle is so incredible. I just
I appreciate that.
so awesome. So, what advice would you give your younger self before the crazy ride happened? What advice would you go back and tell yourself?
I think probably it took me too long to get to the point where I understood that people that tell you something, like you had just said, it took them a long time to get to that point. Like when I was younger, I feel like you couldn't tell me anything. Like I had to go learn it for myself and go make the mistakes for myself and stuff like that. And now I want like the most streamlined A to B possible. And so if somebody's learned something or done something, like I just want to be a good listener and be a good learner and yeah, just work really hard at it. So I think, I was stubborn and I had to go through it, and I'm sure I'm still stubborn, but yeah, I had to go through that when I was younger, but and if I went back and told myself that when I was younger, I wouldn't have listened. So,
Yeah.
but that's something that I wish that I had kind of matured into faster, is understanding the streamlined path. And then when people give you advice and help with that, it really is the faster path.
Hmm. Yeah. What would you tell someone else who's maybe in the same shoes as you that didn't come from a horse background, whether it's cow horse or the jumpers or any discipline they wanted to start getting into? What advice would you give them?
Um, Meet people. Just keep meeting people. You'll meet the right people. Um, Cut out people that don't value you or treat you well faster.
Mhm.
And um, yeah, you can gain so much by being a likable person, and that just looks like a good attitude, positive energy, and a good work ethic. Um,
Mhm.
you could be the most talented person in the world, and if you're miserable to be around, you won't get where you want to go. But if you I can make it a very centered goal to be good to people and give back to people and be kind, have integrity and stuff like that, and just work really hard, then I think that you can truly do anything. Everyone's willing. You'll find people that are willing to help you in literally any industry in the world if you can just um, work hard and keep a good attitude and be nice to people.
Yeah, that is huge. Something that just came to me. How do you handle or avoid burnout? Because I mean, you've been busting your butt. You've got a lot going on. I watch your Facebook and I've seen you like welding. I've seen you like all the different horses you're riding, going to shows, all of this. We talk burnout once in a while on here, and how do you handle that?
So I used to get burned out a lot, and then I realized that it was because I was riding for the wrong people. And I actually was just talking about this with a young gal at the clinic that I was teaching up in Montana, because she asked me the same question, and I said, "Are you burned out because of the horses, or are you burned out because of the people?" And she thought about it for a second. She said, "I'm burned out because of one client." And I said, "If you get rid of that one client, I suspect you won't be burned out anymore, and you'll enjoy the rest of your horses a lot more." And she thought about it, and she's like, "I think so too." And it was the same way for me. Like, the people in my corner, they are excited, they are appreciative, they want me to do well, they are forgiving of, like, I make mistakes all the time. Like, I'm still a human, I'm not a machine, and I do my best, and I really think that that's the biggest key to not getting burned out, is that you have to be really, really selective with who you surround yourself with, because it will make or break you. So, yeah.
That is very solid advice. I love that. Well, goodness, is there anything else that you want listeners to hear? I mean, I feel like this has been a great conversation. I hope
Yeah.
they take away, I just love how you have made your way to where you are. That's what I admire so much, and I just hope people understand that they can too about this from this conversation.
Yeah, I would think that that would be my biggest hope and takeaway, is like, I know this industry can be a little intimidating because I was there, and I know it can be very expensive because I've also been there, but you don't have to start from money. You don't have to have much handed to you, and you don't have to have, like, I've ridden horses that were as good as they could be on paper that were not anything in the arena. And I've ridden horses that were nothing on paper that were everything in the arena. And so, like, if you can find a horse that you believe in, just stick it out, go get help, and yeah, you can make it happen.
Yeah. I love that. Love, love, love. Well, thank you so much for taking
Yeah,
time
thank you
out
so
of
much.
your busy schedule. If people want to like follow you on social media, you use your Facebook a lot.
Yeah, so my Facebook is pretty much my professional platform. Like, I post most of my stuff on my Facebook, is just pretty much all professional. So that's my biggest way to see what I'm up to.
Cool. Well, we'll have to tag that down below. And yeah, thank you and good luck with all of your upcoming ventures.
Awesome. Thanks, Crystal.
Thanks for riding along with me on another episode of Horses, Hope, and Hustle. If you found a little bit of inspiration or grit here today, share it with a friend, leave a review, or tag us on socials. The mission of this show has always been simple: to build a community of genuine horse people, a place to connect, support one another, and help each other succeed. But this isn't just a podcast anymore. It's a place where everyone has a seat at the table, and we want you there. So get on over to horseshopeandhustle.com. If you own an equine business or host events, you can get listed in our directory, where listings start for free. And subscribe to our weekly newsletter, where we highlight businesses, events, and opportunities right here within our community. And remember, keep showing up for what truly matters. Until next time, stay true, stay tough, and keep hustling.